Suella Braverman has got serious guts to come out and say what she says, and I think that people clutching their pearls and claiming to be outraged by her use of language are, frankly, pathetic. A hurricane. That's what she called the incoming onslaught of human traffic that every single person with eyes in their head can see is coming to Europe and the West over the course of the next decade or so. OK, are you more worried about the word hurricane or the fact that society as we know it is probably going to completely disintegrate? She's previously used the word invasion to describe what's going on in the Channel. Now, I think that word is a lot more on the nose, isn't it? But let's be honest, if you lined up a year's worth of small boats packed with people, mostly young men, and set them off from Calais at exactly the same time, well, it would look a heck of a lot like an invasion, wouldn't it? She said that the Human Rights Act should be called the Criminal Rights Act. Well, obviously, we need human rights, but she's correct in the sense that criminals have used human rights legislation as a shield to keep themselves in Britain. In some cases, they've gone on to commit further crimes. And so, yes, it can be exploited by villains. That's true. It's happened. She said that Labour want open borders. All right, that's a bit of a stretch, isn't it? But what she's really saying is if you think it's bad now, wait till you see how bad it gets under Labour. You would never see a Labour Home Secretary come out and say the things that Suella says. And no doubt many people will be thinking, I don't like the results that are being delivered right now, but at least she wants to do something. She was absolutely spot on about the luxury beliefs brigade. Absolutely spot on. There are so many people who just bumble about their lives, willfully ignoring the news or what's going on around them. There's also a solid group of people who've managed to do very well for themselves, often, I find, through no great personal genius of their own, and live a life totally secluded and sheltered from the problems that their faux-worthy dinner party-lovey beliefs actually cause to ordinary people. Their kids are at private school, and they can afford to keep sending them there, even with a hike in VAT. They own a property. They might even own two. They have private healthcare. They live in a predominantly white area. They can pick and choose where they go on holiday, and everything is comfortable. They actually hate places like Stoke and think everybody there is subhuman scum. They think the people of Doncaster are vermin and that the residents of Keighley are zoo animals. If they're being honest, they actually hate and are repulsed by most other people. They're not nice, they're not kind, and they don't actually care about you or this country. She made a point about institutions being completely captured by socialist or quite radical left-leaning groups, and she's almost definitely right about that. Any sector of society that is heavily unionised probably leans to the left. I mean, it was ever thus, wasn't it? And when I interview doctors about why they go on strike, we'll start talking about pay. And then before you know it, they're talking about Tory this, Tory that. We spent this much on the coronation. Boris broke lockdown rules. And it becomes political, doesn't it? It veers away from the core issue of pay and conditions and becomes about hating the government and anybody to the right of Tony Blair. So, Suella says that stuff out loud. I think that's pretty good. I really do. But the enormous elephant in the room was, how is she going to do anything about any of that stuff? And can she? Will she be allowed to? I look at Suella, I listen to what she says, and I don't really see or hear a woman who I think wants to stay in the ECHR. But she's not saying that, is she? It doesn't seem like she's allowed to say it. I like her, and I think that a lot of her critics live in complete denial and pretend to be outraged by what she says because that's easier than admitting that somebody who, for what it's worth, also happens to be an ethnic minority, holds genuine conservative views and is right about a lot of stuff. But she is in government, and talking is one thing, doing is another.